Hey, 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 happy Wednesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, incredibly enough, Roll for Combat and their Battle Zoo Ancestries Living Legends Kickstarter, as well as, the gaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard, everybody. Tonight is Wednesday, March 19th, 2025. This is live stream number 1167. If you're not overly familiar with the show, let me point out it's super, super casual around here. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news. And then I will either pontificate about a topic related to our hobby. Maybe I share a first look, which is what I'm doing tonight. And on very rare occasions, I will actually do a live review here on the Dispatch. But tonight, we are going to dive on in. We're going to take a first look at the 4th edition of Kult, Divinity Lost, from Helmgast and Modiphius Entertainment. So that is on our agenda for tonight. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit gaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Also, because this is a live show, that means there is chat available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. And you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least 10 whole minutes before you can take part in chat. Yet another way I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you check both those boxes, you want to say howdy, maybe get a question, a comment, by all means, fire away. I will do my very best to respond. First out the gate tonight is Sean O'Donnell, followed by W. Forge and James Eck, our good friend of the show, the Madman. One of our chat moderators is also with us, as is Midnight Green Gaming. For some reason that rings a bell. I think this might not be a first-time visit in chat, but probably not, not a regular, but if it is your first time and I'm just misremembering, welcome. Kevin R. Smith is with us, as is Reading Aid. And I think I've said hello to everyone so far. And of course, let's not forget the lovely and talented Miss Sarah D., who may be lurking in the shadows, another of our chat moderators, wielding that glittery banhammer. Yes. Midnight Green Gaming says, I've been here before. See, I thought you had. Semper Buffo is also chiming on in. Midnight Green Gaming also points out that Kult is a controversial game. It's a dark game. Yes, I am going to throw out a disclaimer before we dive on into it. I know very little about Kult Divinity Lost. But, we share games of all stripes around here, so we will find out. We shall see. I don't believe this is the nudity edition, because the cover artwork is not topless. So there's that. Then again, I don't know. Might open it up and be like, whoa. Sarah D says, yes, she's lurking, but under a tornado watch. Yeah, ours passed by a while ago. Yes, the weather's been crazy so far today. Pouring rain, and then now later on tonight, it's supposed to turn to snow. And it was funny. My dad's car was outside and the rain came down, and now it looked as if he had driven it through mud puddles because there was so much dirt and grit in the raindrops. Really, really odd. Although, the area we live in, there are fields and stuff. So there are farmers out this way. So, of course, if nothing's planted, it's all soil, gets caught up in the wind, and so on. But I couldn't believe how filthy that car is. Hey, speaking of cars, the Cavalier is gone. Happy trails. I didn't get choked up, but I felt sad watching it on the back of the wrecker, driving off. I can't say into the sunset because it was pouring rain at that moment. But yep, sold it for scrap, essentially. Although I was actually surprised by what I got for it. Seeing, if I remember right, I think the blue book on that is $900, something like that. And I got $405 for it. Better than nothing. Better than having to pay somebody to tow it away. Tasty Trekkie. Testy Trekkie. So busy thinking about that damn car. Tessie Trekkie is with us, says, Kult is the darkest game they own. It gives God's teeth a run for its money, some of its supplements. Well, that's saying something. Because you might recall, God's teeth, I couldn't give it a review score because it's something that I will not run. I would absolutely not run that. I don't like the topics that are tackled and things like that. But it's really well put together, really well presented, and what it sets out to do, it accomplishes. And it sets out to freak the shit out of everybody. So there is that. Troy Cornelson is with us. Said they sold cars for scrap before, and that was the best way to get rid of an old crappy car. Yeah, it was a 30-year-old car, but it only had little over 51,000 miles on it. So, but the thing that killed it was the rust, because it wasn't rust-proof because it was purchased in Arizona. I talked about this on last night's show. So yes, the car is gone. So let's move on to some happier news, because the Dispatch is currently sponsored by Roll for Combat and their Battle Zoo Ancestries Kickstarter. It is their Living Legends. Well. It includes 14 new playable races for 5e and Pathfinder, including the Angel, Evil Eyes, Sphinxes. I said Sphinxes. Gargoyles, Were Creatures, Lamia, Golemborn, Swarmblood, Psychopomps, Cerebrophages. Assume I'm pronouncing that correctly. Arboreals, Devils, and Fusions. So here's what a fusion is. A fusion is a new, I don't want to say it's a species, it's a new option where you can take two other species and put them together. So it's two species in one. Nice. And there's loads of other extras that are part of this Kickstarter. There are animated tokens for virtual tabletops. There are Psychopomp plushies. I think they might still have their dragon goblets available as well. So there is a lot going on. And if you are not overly familiar with the Roll for Combat releases, top-notch quality, excellent physical quality. The presentation is absolutely excellent. I would say no expenses spared, but of course there's some expense that would be spared as far as this would go. But you're getting a peek here at some of the various different species that are part of Living Legends. Now, there was a pretty entertaining video for the Kickstarter. We're not going to take a peek at that today because I don't want to wear it out. I don't want our regulars sitting here going, oh, God, it's that video again. So we'd like to mix it up. Like to mix it up a little bit. Keep things fresh. So you can reserve a copy of either the Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder edition of Living Legends in hardcover with PDF for a $69 pledge. You can grab just the PDF alone for a $35 pledge. There is also a pledge for the virtual tabletop Foundry. I gotta be honest, I'm not sure if there are other virtual tabletops. Probably, I would guess there are. I just tend to, peek at Foundry stuff. But that is $99 if you want to get the hardcover PDF and the Foundry, which I believe is what includes those animated tokens. So like I said, there's a lot cooking in this Kickstarter, which is usually the case with Roll for Combat. So definitely give that a peek. Yes. Pete Strakulich and James Eck are with us in chat, and Gleeman RX. I know that's not really how it's pronounced, but I'm sticking to it. That's how I always say it. W4 Jazz, did Alec Baldwin kill my car? No, he did not. No, he did not. Mark Edwards is joining us in chat. Good to see you, Mark. Welcome aboard. All right, I got a lot cooking tonight. So we're going to jump right on into the news because there are like 5 things after the news that I do want to kind of touch upon. One of them is a fairly big news item, but we're not going to really get into it tonight. Maybe tomorrow, if people are interested to kind of kick it around, we can. Well, we'll get to that. All right, so let's dive on into tonight's news because there is a 4th printing of my buddy Herman Luttman's very well-received war game, A Most Fearful Sacrifice. It is up for crowdfunding for Mark H. Walker and Flying Pig Games. I got the scoop. Flying Pig Games is A Most Fearful Sacrifice is an epic 2-player war game with over 15 square feet of playing area. You don't have to use it all if you don't want to. And 526 playing pieces depicting the fighting that occurred during all 3 days of the decisive clash at Gettysburg. The game utilizes a new American Civil War operations system called the Black Swan system. I guess I shouldn't say it's new because it does power other games, and this is the 4th printing of A Most Fearful Sacrifice. It's closely related to the popular Blind Swords game system, which was first introduced in the game The Devil's to Pay. You might recall I've reviewed by Tiny Battle Publishing. This version of the system is specifically designed to handle larger scale battles, yet keep rules overhead low. Players can eliminate huge encounters in a reasonable Got something blocked off my teleprompter for a second. I'm like, eliminate? Huh? You can simulate huge engagements in a reasonable amount of playing time. This is accomplished in one way through the use of card draws rather than chit pulls. Also, players will trigger activations by cores instead of by lower level formations, but they still have tactical decision-making choices by needing to determine which divisions get activation priority. Though at a grander scale, this system maintains a tactical feel about it and still emphasizes the 3 foes of war, the fortunes of war, the friction of war, and, come on, you can guess it. Everybody's going to guess it. Fog of war. Players will be challenged to deal with a constantly developing battle situation, never quite sure of what the gods of war will throw at them, and thus they must always be prepared to deal with historically realistic Black Swan events. A Most Fearful Sacrifice is for 2 players. There are some options to bump that up to 4 players. Ages 14 and up, plays in an hour or more, far more, depending on the scenario. This project is over 200% funded. You can reserve a copy for $30 off the MSRP, $105 through April 1st. No fooling. Yes, good to see another print run of A Most Fearful Sacrifice. Sadly, I have never had an opportunity to check this out. This is one of the only Herman Luttman designs that I have not reviewed. Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. I think there's one other. It might be, I think it's one of his World War I games that I have not actually had an opportunity to take a peek at. But yes, Lumen RX says 15 square feet, question mark. Yep. W Forge says at 15 square feet, I'd hate to have to reach a piece in the middle of the table. Yeah, you'll have to use those sticks like they did around the strategy, tables and stuff like that, pushing units around. There you go. Bradley Thorpe is with us in chat, as is Chris Lundgren. Welcome to you both. Bradley says that they just wanted to let me know that they started playing the Walking Dead universe. They bought the core rulebook mainly because they liked the show. But I have to say, the game is actually really cool. Good. Glad to see that you're enjoying it. Wasn't necessarily my bag of tricks. I did like the core book better than I did the starter set. I thought the starter set was very weak, especially the included scenario, which you would finish up in maybe 2 hours. Maybe. So, but yes, excellent. I got to say, I'm not sure what Free League Publishing's really doing with that. I don't know what kind of support they've got. I know they made a big deal about it when it came out, when it was on the horizon. I don't know. But I'll tell you what, speaking of Free League Publishing, now available in print and PDF from Free League Publishing, is Black Powder and Brimstone. Here's the skinny. Embark on a dark and daring adventure where death and destruction lurks around every corner. The Gunpowder and Witchcraft-infused game is a complete standalone role-playing game based on and compatible with the multi-award-winning apocalyptic heavy metal role-playing game. Drum roll, please. Meek big. This action-packed, rules-light, art-heavy OSR game offers swashbuckling adventure and gothic folk horror in an unholy blend. It features a wicked cauldron of a game packed to the brim with lore, explosions, magic, war, and demons. Yeah, that blowed up pretty good. Be a desperate adventurer stuck in the middle of the conflict, desperately trying to survive. Using desperate a little too much there. And maybe even profit amongst the chaos and destruction. At least it's not desperate destruction or desperate chaos. Wield unique and characterful weapons, each with their own rules and advantages on top of the damage die. That characterful kind of came out of nowhere. Use forbidden and powerful magics that can warp reality as easily as an artist paints a canvas. A treasure chest of character options, items, locations, adventures, and enemies, both human and monstrous, waiting to be opened. This 185-page hardcover with PDF carries an MSRP of $51.35. Of course, that is if you order it from Free League Publishing, which is how you normally will score that free PDF. If you want to just grab the PDF alone, you can do so over at Drive-Thru RPG for $24.99. And I have requested a review copy of Black Powder and Brimstone, because even though it has a bit of an art punk vibe to it, it does look like there is game content in there. Not like some of the Mork Borg stuff that we do see where it's, yeah, you can't even read the gaming material in there because it's just overwhelming artwork, just kind of making everything kind of fade into the background. That doesn't look to be the case here. That wasn't really the case too much with Mork Borg. But there were some parts of the book that were a little difficult to make out. But I don't think that'll be the case here. Because Cyborg, clear to read. Pirate Borg, of course. Both Cyborg and Pirate Borg I really like. In fact, I like them better than Mickberg. Those, even though they were art heavy, still very easy to make out the gameable content within. Pete Strachowicz says, speaking of Free League, they found a hard copy of The One Ring second edition for $3. It's true. One man's trash is another man's treasure. Bradley Thorpe says most of the tabletop role-playing game books they bought in the last 15 months are because of my reviews. Okay, well, hopefully you're only buying the ones that I really, really liked. I'm kidding, because it's, I say it all the time. Reviews are opinions. Some stuff that other people will absolutely love might not be my bag of tricks, and stuff that I am really turned on by in a non-sexual way. It may not necessarily be everyone else's cup of tea. Let's refer to earlier in chat, God's Teeth for Delta Green. I like Delta Green. Sometimes some of the Delta Green adventures are pretty fucked up. And I felt God's Teeth is really fucked up. So, just, like I said, well done, well written, very interesting. Just not stuff that I want to run with my friends and family. There you go. There you go. Chris Lundgren's talking about aliens suffering from blurry art as well. That is a Martin Grip style. His style is just like Blade Runner. The Blade Runner artwork, unless, if it's Martin Grip artwork, same thing. Same thing. Although I will say Alien, the role-playing game, does kind of steer a bit more into the muted, kind of difficult to make out details, things like that. Still a good role-playing game. I like artwork, and sometimes if the artwork's horrible in a game, I will certainly ding it. And if the artwork's really good in a game, I will boost its review score a little bit by it. But I don't personally think artwork makes or breaks a game. Right, moving right along. Let's talk about saving some money, because Mythworks is teamed with Bundle of Holding for a money-saving offer on the Wild Sea role-playing game. And I've got the deets on the deal. Wild Sailor. This all-new Wild Sea bundle presents, you guessed it, the Wild Sea, the narrative weird fantasy tabletop role-playing game from Mythworks, set in a world overrun by greenery. 3 centuries ago, a tide of rampant growth overwhelmed the world's empires. Now, chainsaw-driven ships cut across the verdant sea, a dense forest canopy of toxic, iron-rooted trees. You and your fellow wild sailors, humanity's weathered descendants, and also cactoid gunslingers, centipedal fungi, silk-clothed spider folk, and even stranger things. Not the Netflix series, just weird stuff. Explore the tangle, hunt pine wolves and thrumming birds, trade oil fruit and honey, salvage wrecks from the sink, or seek thrills in the fox loft, spitskill tide, spearing fens, even down in the darkness under eaves, amid the bones of the old world. As the wild sea hungers and grows, what will you discover in its depths? For this all-new offer, you'll get the complete Mythworks Wild Sea game line to date for just $19.95. You'll get all 5 complete titles in this Wild Sea collection, which has a retail value of $95, as DRM-free PDFs, including the beautiful 368-page The Wild Sea Core Rulebook, 2 Wild Sea source books, Storm and Root and Ship Gardens, and 2 full-length adventures, the introductory One-Armed Scissor and Red Right Hand. These savings will run through March 31st. This always looked like a pretty cool role-playing game in a very interesting setting. I don't know much about it, though. I don't know what system powers it or if it's its own game. I don't know if it's a D20 or if it's a dice pool or 2 6-sided dice or what. I honestly have no idea. But at least production quality wise, artwork wise, always looked pretty impressive, I must say. And for $20, you can get everything that's been released for it so far in PDF. W. Forge says the Wild Sea books are expensive in print. Mark Edwards is popping on into chat, says this setting seems really interesting. Is this a FIT-D type game? I don't know. I don't know if this is powered by the apocalypse. I don't know if it's, like Blades in the Darkness. I don't know. I do not know. Kevin R. Smith is chiming in, says, apparently Wild Sea is a D6 dice pool system, so maybe a little bit like Free League Publishing's Mutant Year Zero, the Year Zero engine. I wonder. So if you're not saving enough money just yet, let's talk about another deal that's out there, because Steamforged Games is teamed with Humble Bundle for a pretty spectacular Iron Kingdoms bundle. And I've got the skinny on the savings. Journey to the fabled Iron Kingdoms. Gather your friends for countless hours of adventure with the Iron Kingdoms collection by Steamforged Games. The tabletop role-playing game Explorer's Kit contains rulebooks, source books, and campaign resources for the Iron Kingdoms role-playing game and Iron Kingdoms 5e. Explore rich lands powered by steam and magic, encounter beasts and constructs, and engage in epic battles in a full metal fantasy universe. Get everything you need to embark on an epic journey together and help support Child's Play charity with your purchase. You can jump aboard for as little as $5, which is going to get you both the full metal and the 5e versions of the core game book and a few adventures. Or if you want to go all in for a minimum donation of $30, you can score all 65 items on offer. I did not realize there is that much published content for the Iron Kingdoms role-playing game. And yes, I do understand. In essence, I think it's 3 separate games. So you've got Iron Kingdoms, you got the 5e Iron Kingdoms, and then I thought there was another, like the Into the Deep Wild that you're seeing right there. I thought that's another offshoot, that there's a core rule book for that too. But still, wow, that is loads of stuff. And yes, good old Steamforged has taken over the license. I believe they purchased it from, wasn't it Privateer Press who it was with previously? And it kind of stagnated and nothing much was really coming out except, I think, RPG stuff. Because, of course, Iron Kingdoms is the role-playing game that, isn't it War Machine and Hordes? Aren't those the 2 miniatures games? That's the, in this game world, and Iron Kingdoms is the, like, role-playing game for it? I think so. And I know the like kind of like steam mechs in this are smaller scale. So they're not like monster titans or anything like that. So Kevin R. Smith also points out it wasn't a Privateer Press that created this setting originally. Yeah, that's what I thought. And probably the less said about Privateer Press, the better. Because boy, they were pissing off their fans. In fact, okay, so I'm not trying to pick on Privateer Press, but I remember back in the day, first day, Thursday morning, Gen Con, a lot of times we'd already be inside because we were press. We got an early entry about an hour ahead of time. And the doors would open and people, you literally saw people running to Privateer Press. And you'd see lines for the miniatures all throughout the show. And then last couple of years I saw them there wasn't a soul in their exhibit area. And one year the exhibit area is pretty big. Next year it was quite a bit smaller. Still, I didn't see anyone outside of the volunteers or whoever was working it. In miniatures games and stuff, you do not insult the people who buy your product. Tessie Treggy says the war game was lovingly called Warmahors. I should say Warmahordes. Yeah, because it was War Machine and Hordes. Hordes was like more monsters, but it carried over. And yep. Chris Langren says War Machine was huge at game stores and tournaments. Is the game a dead game? I don't think it's dead because Steamforged Games has taken it on. That's why they've got this bundle. And they are going to be, I don't know what they're going to produce as far as miniatures. I would not mind, seeing that I've shared coverage of Steamforged Games and their epic encounters. I certainly would not mind having an opportunity to kind of, as a reviewer, as a content creator, kind of getting on the ground floor with them on this. Who knows? I mean, as far as I should say, the miniatures game, not the RPG. Although if they're interested when they do a new print run for Iron Kingdoms, I'd be interested in taking a peek. All right, I thought I saw somebody had mentioned, here we go. Lemon RX says, Wild Sea Reviewer says, the core mechanic is very much like Blades in the Dark, albeit without position and effect, driving how your rolls go down. So if it is Blades in the Dark-ish, that also means it's powered by the apocalypse-ish. So, very nice. Hey, don't forget, this benefits the Child's Play charity and these savings, which, like I said, $30, 65 items. I think like at least 60 of them are actually source books and rule books and adventures and stuff. Got to be worth it. Got to be worth it, even if you weren't all that interested in the actual core game. I guarantee you there's stuff that you could pick apart out of the adventures and source books to use in your role-playing games. All right, final news piece, now out in PDF, is Fabula Ultima's Natural Fantasy Atlas. And I've got the latest from Need Games. The Natural Fantasy Atlas for Fabula Ultima will bring you into worlds deeply permeated by the cycles of time and nature, where young heroes face the consequences of past mistakes and demonstrate that history does not have to repeat itself, creating a brave future of coexistence, much like in classic Japanese role-playing games. Dive into a new JRPG, staring at the G at the end of that. Take that from the top. Cut! Line, please. Dive into a new JRPG subgenre based upon harmony and change with 4 new classes: Floralist, Gourmet, Invoker, and Merchant, and new heroic skills to create even more new combinations. 10 natural fantasy locations, archetypical settings with tips and hints for playing an intense natural fantasy campaign, or which you can use as inspiration to breathe life into your world. Craft equipment and tools with any materials you gather using the rules for custom weapons and foraging. Introduce quirks, optional rules that add even more depth to your characters, and take a break to share convivial moments with camp activities. Wow, this is sounding a lot of 5e kumbaya, holding hands, singing songs, having convivial moments. Although I guess there's 5 villains challenging new bosses of increasing power to use in your adventures, providing your players with tougher and more exciting challenges. This includes full color pages, also features manga and chibi. Is it chibi? It's not. No, I think it is chibi style. I know what it is. Like many words that are not in the English language, I butcher them. Anyway, it does have all these illustrations from international artists. Your story will bring new kindness. This 208-page PDF is available over at Drive-Thru RPG for $14.90. Very cool. Very cool. Sharon Dow says they might be in the mood for this. I gotta say, Fabula Ultima is very popular with folks. I know people were really excited when these various different atlases have come out with specific genres. Yeah, people are pretty pumped. So, not too bad. Mark Edwards says they've heard that there is a Delta Green Humble bundle going live tomorrow. I will say that the Cubicle 7 Games Warhammer 40K Wrath and Glory Humble bundle, which has almost everything. I don't think it's got the last 2 books. That I think ends in a couple of days. So if you have not taken advantage of that and you are interested, jump on board. I got to say, I think there is another Humble bundle that I thought, well, should I share a news piece about? Like, because I tend to try to assemble the news ahead of time. So a lot of times the night before, I've got at least 3 of my 5 news pieces normally. I thought, it's Pathfinder first edition stuff from all various different publishers and that. I'm like, that's kind of cool. We'll see. I'll keep my eyes peeled. I'll take a peek tomorrow to see if we do have a Delta Green Humble bundle. Because I really like Delta Green. I really, really do. It's just some of their adventures are just not my cup of tea. And yes, I get it. Modern Lovecraftian horror and conspiracy and things like that can get pretty sticky. Not like 1920s Call of Cthulhu, although you can get pretty hairy with that too. So that is the news for this evening. Of course, I was talking about Drive-Thru RPG. Don't forget the Gaming Gang. Thus, Dispatch is affiliated with the One Bookshelf site. So if you are going to stop by Drive-Thru RPG, Storyteller's Vault, Dungeon Masters Guild, Wargame Vault, any of those One Bookshelf sites, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. And those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do go a long way to keeping thegaminggang.com around. And of course, if you like the video, if you dig the channel, if you find the Gaming Gang to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always stop on by paypal.me/ the gaming gang to make a small donation. Hell, you can buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. Oh, that's refreshing. And I do want to mention there have been some fine folks who have popped on over to paypal.me/the gaming gang this month and made not small donations, such as our friends of the show, Joshua Edwards, the Madman, and Marius Smith. Also want to point out, if you missed yesterday's show, I talked about the future of the dispatch is really up in the air. I want to say, I mean, I was shocked by these. I'm really shocked because there are some folks out there who make very, very generous donations. And just last night, Gleeman RX, as well as Craig Watkins and James Auer, I'm taking a guess on the pronunciation there, made exceptionally generous contributions. Really, really did. And I got to be honest, I'm one of these people that I don't handle compliments all that well. I know I've been told by people who it's like, just say, oh, hey, thanks. Oh, I appreciate that, and move along. I'm always like, if somebody says, something nice about me, I'm like, I don't know. Well, I mean, it's what I would expect to do. I don't think anybody would do that, So I get a little choked up. I really do. I got some emails from people last night and this morning. And, I just figure I'm some doofus who sits in front of a camera, talks about games, reviews stuff. Yeah, people can, take it. They can leave it. Yeah, whatever, right? Man, there were people sending me emails talking about how, my videos and the live streams and stuff like that are like a ray of sunshine in their lives. It's like, I don't know. I've never, yeah. It's like, okay, so here we go. I'm going to try this. I really appreciate that. Thank you so very much for your kind emails, the kind thoughts that have been shared in comments, both in it's not community anymore, it's what posts. Thank you for that. Some people on social media have chimed in. So I really appreciate that. I really, really do. And I mentioned there were some things I wanted to tackle tonight, and we're going to get into Kult. I put timestamps on videos, so if someone is just got to get to that game, they can jump ahead as long as they're not watching live. So if you're watching live, I apologize. We're probably not going to be getting into Kult for maybe about 15 minutes or so. Well, we do have a brief intermission coming up. Maybe 20, 25 minutes. So I know over the years and very recently, I have had people, Tessie Trekkie is making a very generous donation. Thank you so very much. And I don't expect anything from folks. And in that kind of vein, it's like, what word should I use here? Vein. People say, hey, how come you don't have a Patreon? How come you don't have how come you're not doing Kickstarters? How come you're not like, oh, hey, season 15, like other people do? And a big part of that is, how embarrassed I would be? Not that there's a Kickstarter. Now, I remember 2 or 3 years into this, when Elliot Miller, my best friend, who obviously people probably know better than his neighbors know him from the show. If you watch the show, you probably know way more about him than his neighbors. We did a Kickstarter. I think it was our third year, and Kickstarter was kind of a thing. Not as much of a thing as it is now, but it was relatively new, and various different outlets were doing Kickstarters, and we were popular. I mean, we talked about this before. Our podcast was popular, so much so that people were copying us. So anyway, so I did a Kickstarter, and we didn't fund. And then I took the project, because all it was because I'm also not the kind of guy who's like, oh, hey, game company, will you donate games? Will you donate promos and stuff like that? I feel weird doing that. So anyway, so I took the project to another crowdfunding platform. I don't even know if it's still around anymore. In fact, I don't even remember the name of it. But what it was whatever funds you raised, you got to keep. So it wasn't like, oh, well, this is our goal, and damn it, we missed it by $3. Now you're shit out of luck. Right? And we raised $800. And of course, there were Kickstarters out there for other outlets. They were, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. And some of them were just podcasts. And we not only had the podcast, we also had the website where we had our written reviews and the articles and news pieces and all that other stuff. And we had, at that point in time, Elliot and I and a couple of contributors. So there were 4 of us. At one point, there were 5 contributors to the Gaming Gang, all at one time. So the reason why I don't do like a Patreon or a Kickstarter is I would be just so embarrassed if I sat promoting a Kickstarter and then it didn't come anywhere near funding. I'd be like, yeah, I suck. It wouldn't be that I'd be like, I suck. It would be, well, the people have spoken and I suck. It's to be like, ooh, I don't know. I don't know. Because, I have a little bit of ego as far as I try to do the best job I can. I try to make the videos look as professional as I can. I try to make the reviews as in-depth as I can, although people don't like me going 20 minutes. So I have tried to shorten them up a little bit. But that is one of the things that, like, I'll give you a great example. Last night, I'm going and I'm doing the timestamps. And like, what is with me and all the click, like, blah, 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 blah. It was driving me nuts. I was like, damn it. I guarantee vast majority of people out there didn't notice it at all. And I'm like, oh man, oh man, can't believe I was doing that. So I guess I could kick around doing a Patreon. The only thing is, I don't have anything to give people. And like when I do stuff like, raffles kind of thing, right? Or I'll do a live giveaway and come up with some trivia question. All right. First one who gets the correct answer wins. Can't do that on Patreon. The other thing too is I had a Patreon at one point, and then I've talked about this previously. They jacked up their percentage and they were taking the percentage out of the patrons' pockets. So if you had said, okay, I'm gonna pledge $1 every month to this content creator or whatever, whoever. Well, they jacked up their percentage, but then what they did is they threw it on the patron. So if you were someone supporting a creator, your dollar became like $1.40 that came out of your pocket. But you only said, hey, I only want to do $1 or $2, whatever. And that was pretty shitty. And I remember when that happened, I lost probably 70% of the patrons I had, which I didn't have a ton. And I was like, okay, forget it. So I just, closed up shop on Patreon. I'll have to take a look to see if PayPal allows for like a subscription. They may, because the thing is they take the least amount. They don't take a huge cut. We've talked about the super chats, and Google/YouTube takes 50%. I mean, when someone's generous and they do a super chat, I feel bad for that person because it's like, wow, only half of what they'd like to donate is actually getting through. So I know I've had people saying, hey, man, I really hate to see the show go. It's not going anywhere yet. Just want to tell people that. I'm very transparent. I explain what's going on. So I didn't want to be like, oh, hey, look, Jeff's gotten into the clickbait titles and says, yeah, this is my last video. You know what I'm talking about. Goodbye, YouTube. It's over. And then suddenly it's like, holy shit, it really is. Jeff's show really is over. He wasn't joking. It wasn't clickbait. So, okay, just, Sean Dell says once the the gaming gag role playing game is done. So yeah, that's something I don't have time. I haven't had time to try to put stuff down on paper, or not really paper, but on the laptop. Always something else. So anyway, I am still kicking around. And remember, I told you I've got a couple of publishers who said, hey, we'll do the layout on us if you come up with this game. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, don't hold your breaths. All right. So anyway, once again, big thank you to those out there who have made very, very generous contributions, very generous donations. It is much, much appreciated. Okay, next thing, real quick. If you were watching last week on Thursday, I recommended you check out a channel on YouTube called The Atomic Snack Bar. And I was talking about, because, he does all these, Mr. Sterling does a lot of like retrospectives, I should say, of kind of like, classic 80s movies that, most of us probably saw, or the sort of science fiction or horror movies that we used to see on Saturday afternoons on UHF channels and stuff like that. Really entertaining and really well researched too. So I had mentioned, hey, yeah, I've been watching this channel and I recommend you check this out. And I said, I kind of get the impression that he knows about the gaming gang because he was doing a page through of, I think it was his Christmas haul of goodies. And one of them was Basic Fantasy. So sure enough, it was the gaming gang video. He's pretty sure it was the gaming gang video that turned him on to Basic Fantasy. I was like, that's kind of wild. That's pretty cool. Seems like a good guy. But yeah, definitely. If you like the old science fiction, like 50s, 60s, sci-fi, 80s sword and sorcery is a big topic he does too. Really good stuff. It's the Atomic Snack Bar, or I guess I should say Atomic Snack Bar is the channel. Definitely check that out. All right, so popping over to chat real quick. Mark Edwards says, love live stream. Thank you. Thank you very much. Reading 8 says, yep, Jeff, you never know what people are going through. Your live streams are fun and insightful. Well, I just had somebody comment today on my unboxing of Congress of Vienna and said it was too goofy and too much chatter. Not for me. Thank goodness he shared that review. Like, wow, some guy who I've never seen in my life. Another, especially when somebody leaves like a negative comment, it's, whatever. So, it's a war gamer who's like, hey, this is supposed to be deadly serious stuff here. It doesn't matter if we're playing a game where we're climbing Mount Everest or it's the Somme. It's still a game. Anywho, but it's like, okay, all right, yeah. And the funny thing too is that as a content creator, and I know I'm not alone, it's the negativity that sticks with you. The positive stuff, it's like, they're just saying that. 245 Trioxin says you could run some online Call of Cthulhu games for Patreon. I don't know if they do that either. I don't know if they allow that. Death Angel Shadow is popping on in, says Rumble takes less. W Forge says Substack is an interesting alternative to Patreon. Stan, exclamation point. Dungeons and Dragons artist has one and runs a live stream in the same time you do on Wednesdays, but I always pick you first. Well, thank you, W Forge. That's something else I find kind of funny is, we got some shows that are all kind of at the same time. And I understand, it's kind of like, which one do I watch live? Let's see. Death Angel Shadow says, but I did get to co-host an interview with Stephen Chenault last Friday on a different live stream. That was pretty awesome. Talk UFOs? Got to talk UFOs. Kevin R. Smith says, it's amazing how many people on the internet think their opinion is the most important thing in the universe. I will tell you, I never leave a negative review on someone's channel, on any of their videos, anything like that. Will I leave a negative review like on Google for a store or something? Sure, I will. I don't do it often, but Gluin RX says they could see Jeff's kickstarting a Call of Cthulhu adventure and a GMing advice book. I wrote a GMing advice book, and it was a little tongue-in-cheek. It was I'm trying to remember the title of it, and we had it as like a download. I don't have the file anymore. I don't know what happened to the file, but I do still have the audiobook file for it. And it was the Gaming Gang's Guide to Great Game Mastering. And I mean, the title was as a gag. It wasn't like, Mark Coxwell is popping on in. Matthew Blackwell says they usually watch Trollord's love stream. I know what you mean. Their live stream, then come into yours. Trolls are traveling today, going to Gary Con. Okay, last thing I wanted to mention. Watching last night's show, I talked about how one of the organizers of the Philadelphia area gaming expo had reached out, sent me an email talking about being a guest. And I emailed back and then hadn't heard anything. Well, it turns out, for whatever reason, for some strange reason, people who are using Outlook as their email client, some of their messages aren't getting delivered, because I know Stephen from Roll for Combat told me that, because I kept getting, because he was looking to sponsor the show for the Kickstarter they're doing. And I kept getting all the promo emails, but I wasn't getting any of the emails that Stephen was sending. And then he sent one, did not use Outlook. Boom, I got it. So it turned out last Friday, this person responded. So we chatted today, and it looks as if, not positive yet, but in January, you might see myself and Elliot covering the Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo. And we might be kind of teaming up in some variety of different ways. So I thought that was kind of cool. It's still far off, still plenty of stuff to discuss. I floated out some ideas as well. So we'll see what happens. But I did hear back from the Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo, and could be kind of cool. Kind of cool. Let's see. So talking about the word mastering. Very nice. Very nice. Okay. So those were the things I wanted to talk about. Those were the things I did want to mention. And I could tell you about something else, but I'll probably save it for tomorrow. But let me just point out, I almost got killed today. And that's no hyperbole. Almost did. Yikes. 245 Trioxin said they had a lot of issues with the newest version of Outlook at work. They had to revert to an older version. Yeah, you know, I had actually mentioned this to the organizer, and I said, hey, you know, I don't know if it's because Microsoft has been having problems, like worldwide problems. Don't know. Sharon says, send a couple of emails from Yahoo. Am I getting filtered too? I gotta say, Sean, I don't think I've seen a single email from you. I'll check. I have, because I've mentioned before, I run my mail server, and I have, I don't want to say it's overly aggressive spam filtering, but it's like, if you sent me an email that's got like 5 links in it, you're probably not getting it through to me. So Death Angel Shadow says they're a little miffed at Microsoft. They use Publisher to do all of their desktop publishing, and they're EQLing it next year. Word is not a substitute for Publisher. Oh God, no. Word is not. All right. Glenn RX says, I almost got killed. Tune in tomorrow to find out how. That's one hell of a cliffhanger. Should I use that as the title to tomorrow's show? Jeff nearly dies. On the Gaming Gang Dispatch, episode 1168. Shazama85 is with us in chat. I noticed they had popped in earlier. I just didn't get around to saying hello yet. Said they're picking up some classic adventures for Fantasy Grounds. They got Against Slave Lords, Ghost Tower of Inverness, Night Below, the Giants Drow, Queen of the Drow, 1 through 7, Ravenloft. Wow, nice. Very nice. I thought, isn't Fantasy Grounds having a spring sale right now? Yes. So, all right, I'll tell you what. Real quick, I'll tell you what happened. It'll only take a couple of minutes. So as I mentioned, they came and they took the car. Well, the car was in the garage, and the auto wrecker or whatever, I had talked to them yesterday, and they made me the offer. I said, okay, great. And they said, well, okay, so the tow company is going to call you. They're going to arrange a time to pick it up. Okay, fantastic. Nobody called. Okay, whatever. I figured they're busy. So this morning, I see I've got an email, and it says, oh, call us to confirm the deal. No, I thought I confirmed it. So I call up, and they're like, oh, yeah, are you calling about your pickup? And I'm like, yeah. And they said, okay, so they're going to either be there today or tomorrow. Today or tomorrow? Like, okay. Now, luckily, I'd cleared most of the stuff out of the car. And I said, okay, fine. So my dad goes to a doctor's appointment. 5 minutes after he's left for his doctor's appointment, I get a phone call. Guy says, hey, this is Joe Bob, whatever. With the tow, I'm going to be there in about an hour. So dumbass me decides, yeah, because the garage is flat and then we've got a slope. It's not crazy, but it is a slope down to the street. I thought, come on. I can just get it going a little bit, and then I can jump in the car, hit the brakes. Nope. So all of a sudden it starts rolling faster. I try to jump in. I miss. And I end up on my back getting dragged by the car door. I lucked out big time. I did not tell my dad about this. But yeah, I lucked out hugely. Because if I had been dragged along by that door, that car would have gone over, my arm, my leg. And funny enough, I had my Cubs hat on. And one of the neighbors, teenage kid, came running over. He's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm all right. Like, yeah, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. And I noticed my hat was on the ground back on the driveway. I'm like, damn, it knocked my hat off. So I go and I pick it up, and this part right up in here is all ripped. It's all torn. And I'm thinking, man, it is a good thing I was wearing that hat. Otherwise, I'd have gotten scalped. It's hell getting old. And not, you're still thinking, I can jump in there easily. Like, yeah, okay, dumbass. All right. There you go. So now you don't have to wait until tomorrow. Chanel says even Hugh Jackman doesn't do his own stunts, Jeff. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I know. I get it. All right, so tonight we are going to dive in. Yes, finally going to dive in and take a look at Kult, Divinity Lost, 4th edition from Helmgast and Modiphius Entertainment. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
Catch on my mind, carousel, carousel. Makes my mouth so happy, carousel. Love your chocolate crispies and caramel, carousel. Makes my mouth so happy, carousel. Love your chocolate crispies and caramel, carousel. Makes my mouth so happy, carousel.
Say, mighty nice looking horse.
Yep.
Yours?
Yep.
Hey, mind if I look him over?
Nope.
Yeah, I bet he's real fast.
Yep.
Look at his legs gallop. Say, can you rear him up, too?
Yep.
Mighty sturdy stand here. Must be easy to assemble.
Yep.
Was that him?
Yep.
He does everything but talk.
How about some hay?
By Ginnies, he does talk. Now, look, son, I just gotta have this horse. Is he for sale?
You can get Mattel's place wherever toys are sold.
Well, I should have known. Sure. It's Blaze, the fabulous, galloping, talking horse made only by Mattel. You can tell it's Mattel. It's swell.
Yep.
Grandma, it's Little Red Riding Hood with your Wilkins coffee.
I'm the bad wolf and I just ate your grandma.
We'll have some Wilkins to wash her down.
Our galaxy is split into two warring factions, our own, and the one ruled by the evil Count Zarthan from the League of the Dark Worlds. The Count has created a weapon so vast, so huge, that it would take a whole planet to conceal it. You must sail to the haunted stars. Find the Count's secret planet and destroy
Why did that do that again tonight? Damn it. Hold on. I had fixed that. Well, you already know what we're taking a look at tonight, but I wanted to say my favorite wise ass comment that I've seen on YouTube for that trailer is, for a movie made in 1957, those special effects are phenomenal. Too bad it was made in 1979. If I remember that movie, and I kind of sort of do. On one hand, I thought there was like some sexy sex in it. Maybe I'm wrong. But I also seem to remember that it was more along the lines of a sword and sorcery movie in space, where it was like, and even like the stop motion, which I highly doubt is Ray Harryhausen. It's sort of like, wow, that looks like that's something out of Sinbad. It doesn't look like something out of a science fiction movie. I don't know. DB's with us in chat. Very nice to see you. All right, so it's taken us long enough, but yeah, we're covering a lot of bases. Tonight, we're going to take a first look and dive on into Kult Divinity Lost, 4th edition. There we go. Ran through all that. There you go. There you go. This is from Helmgast and Modiphius Entertainment. This 384-page hardcover carries an MSRP of $69.99. I have seen some varying MSRPs. I think like Modiphius Entertainment's got it for like 71 and change. Of course, you can grab the PDF over at Drive-Thru RPG for the oddly priced $32.96. Pizza Rackledge says, I thought this was the nude version. I don't believe it is. I do not believe it is. So let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got Kult Divinity Lost, the 4th edition core rules. So I will mention we have a sump pump down here in the Duct Tape Studios. And if it loses power, which obviously enough, we have not, fingers crossed, because we've been having some serious weather today, you might hear it's beeping going on right now, saying, oh, it's, but I think we should be all right. I'll tell you what, tell me if you can hear it. Because the funny thing is, this microphone does not pick up a lot of sound. It's like off. So, anywho, all right. I still think that's funny. I thought this was the nude version. W4 says that Star crashes on YouTube with ads. Guess they'll know what they're watching tonight. All right. Yeah, before we dive on in, do want to mention that the fine folks over at Helmgast were kind enough to send me this core rulebook. In fact, they also sent me the tarot deck. We will take a peek at these cards as well real quick. But, of course, neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the gaming gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this coverage with you. And, of course, these days it's important you know that. We're also not going to look at each and every page of the book, but I do want to, of course, give you a good idea for what you're going to find inside this volume. So W. Forge says, don't hear anything. Well, good, because I certainly can, and it's throwing me off. DB asked, Jeff, did they send troubleshooters? Yes, they did. They did send troubleshooters. We're going to be taking a peek at that maybe next week. Might be doing that. So either next week, week after, I've got quite a few items for us to be taking peeks at. Lastly, I do want to mention that this is for mature audiences. I do not know what we're going to encounter in this book. And as Tessie Trekkie has already pointed out in chat earlier, that the content of this gives God's teeth for Delta Green a run for its money. Also want to mention, I saw the Madman got a hernia in their sleep. Ouch. Hopefully surgery goes off without a hitch. Man, that sucks. Thankfully, knock on wood, I have never had a hernia. But my brother had like a partial hernia, and it was not good. It was not good. All right, let's take a look at the back here. Kult Divinity Lost is a reboot of the highly acclaimed and infamous contemporary horror role-playing game Kult, originally released in 1991. This, the 4th edition of Kult, features a completely new rule set, and the setting is updated to present day. Escape your nightmares, strike bargains with demons, and try to stay alive in a world full of pain, torture, and death. I thought this is a fantasy. It also says this game explores mature themes. Content of this book explores psychological and body horror and contains a content warning inside. All right. Oh, gosh. The Batman says it's their second hernia. They also mentioned mature audiences. I guess I'm out. All right, let's jump on in. First thing we're going to do is, where's the credits page? I did not skip it. Is it in the back? It might not be. Okay. Here we go. That's kind of an odd place for it. It's not right at the end. It's not right in front. So here we go. We've got the different authors, artists. Looks like we've got some folks who actually lent a hand, play testers and so forth. There we go. All right. Go back up front. So we have our first part, A World in Darkness. Then we got our archetypes, character traits, player characters, game master, setting up a story, your first session, influences, downtime, constructing a scenario, beyond the veil, the illusion, Elysium, beyond madness, beyond passion, beyond the dream, the underworld, Metropolis, Inferno, Gaia, Pax and Magic, and The Awakening. I wonder if, I thought maybe that'd be an adventure. I guess it's not. I guess it is not. All right. So far, production quality pretty solid. Paper stock is good. It does have that sheen. I know there are folks out there who are like, It's all right. It depends. It depends on where you are trying to read the book, really. So it looks like we're getting some fiction, some artwork. Looks like we might be getting our introduction presented to us like this. It's kind of an interesting approach. I mean, that's 35 pages right there. So then we have book one, The Lie. We live in a world where the sun is set. Fallen angels, twisted demons, and lost gods walk in our midst. So too do our eternal jailers, pitiless beings beyond time itself, striving to keep us imprisoned. Their corrupting influence seeps into every aspect of our existence. They wield almost total control over our top politicians, religious leaders, law enforcement officials, internet celebrities. See, thankfully, I'm not a celebrity. See, you're okay with me. You're safe. Daryl Eric's with us. Says lots of pages, not too much text. Yeah, I'll be the first to point out, I'm not a fan of that. To me, that's, and I like artwork too. Don't get me wrong. But to me, that starts to smack of filler. They wield almost total control. Oh, okay. Sorry. Go back to and media industries. Their only goal is to keep us distracted, passive, and quiet so we never awake from our trance and see the world as it truly is. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the mechanics. So we have rules, moves, and roles. Certain actions the players may wish their characters to frequently undertake are described as moves and require following the instructions outlined in the rules whenever they're carried out. Generally, this involves the roll of 2 10-sided dice, doing some simple arithmetic, and consulting the specific moves text for the outcome, depending on the result. So here we've got an example of an influence other. So it looks like 9 or less. I'm assuming that's what that means. Your attempt has unintended repercussions. The GM makes a move. 10 to 14, she does what you ask, but the GM chooses one. So it's like success plus, or I should say success but. And then 15 or higher on your 2 dice, plus a charisma bonus. They do what you ask. So this is looking kind of powered by the apocalypse-ish. I know we were talking Blades in the Dark-ish prior as well. Interesting. So are these archetypes now? I think so. Okay, so we got Bill Nye. I really like him. I think he's a really good actor. First movie I ever saw him in was Love Actually, which I happen to like. I think that's a pretty cool Christmas movie. But damn, he's a really good actor. So we got the academic. Now remember, we're skipping pages here, so we're going to pass by some. The artist. The artist exists only to create, to give themselves body and soul over to the arts. They express this desire through many mediums. A hypnotic painting. It was a little difficult to make that out. Music trapping the audience in pure ecstasy. Books spellbinding their readers, or a model's sculpted flesh. Ooh, are all the purview of the artist. Artists have the ability to speak to the souls of others by inviting them into their own, but this ability always comes at a price. The price is paid by the artists themselves, be it their sanity or their strength. Sean Dowell says, the Bill gave the ultimate vampire performance. Chris Lundgren and Buddy are rocking on out. W. Forge says, is it Dark City, the role-playing game? The Broken, looks like a drug addict. The Criminal. The Cursed. Oh, these are all negative. And then we had like the artist. It's like, oh, okay. The Deceiver. Well, we got the detective. That's cool. Be they the disillusioned private eye in their office shrouded in clouds of cigarette smoke, or the hardened investigator on the homicide unit, the detective is motivated by their desperate need to find answers. Meanwhile, their families disintegrate, friends abandon them, and they fall into a spiral of darkness and addiction. Not all cops. Come on. I'm friends with some cops. I grew up with cops. They're not all like that. Their noble search leads them down lonely and dangerous paths best left untrodden. So we've got occupation, beat cop, private eye, lawyer, investigator, security guard, so on. There's quite a few there. Dark secrets. Choose one or more dark secrets, such as forbidden knowledge, guilty of a crime, occult experience, returned from the other side, and strange disappearance. 2 disadvantages: drug addict, infirm, nightmares, repressed memories, stalker. 3 advantages: fast talk, interrogator, instinct, read a crowd, shadow, crime scene investigator, dreamer, enhanced awareness. Got our attributes. So this is a game where you're going to assign bonuses. So you're not rolling 6-sided dice, anything like that. You're not looking at a range of like 3 to 18 or anything along those lines. It says assign the modifiers +2, +1, and 0 to 3 passive attributes: fortitude, reflexes, and willpower. And then +3, +2, +1, +1, 0, -1, -2 to the 7 active attributes: charisma, coolness, intuition, perception, reason, soul, and violence. Pete Strakowicz is asking, who published this? So this is from Helmgast, which is European company. For some strange reason, I thought they were out of Italy because of troubleshooters. But maybe I'm wrong. But this is released through Modiphius Entertainment. Matthew Blackwell asks, is this a modern fantasy role-playing game or just supplement to an existing game? This is the core book itself for a dark, modern, I'm assuming urban horror role-playing game. Earlier it said, AKA the hipster, probably for the artist. Oh, there's the occultist, the prophet. Boom. Eyes bugging out there. I like the artwork. Artwork's solid. The seeker. Okay, so it does look like we've got some archetypes that aren't. Because if I'm playing a game, I don't want my character to be, oh, well, my character's a drug addict. Yay. It's not my bag. Character traits. So we got disadvantages such as broken, the aforementioned drug addict, fanatic, obsession, schizophrenia, stalker. There's our advantages. It's basically telling us our attributes as well as a description, just one sentence. Here it looks as if these are the dark secrets. I will say so far, this looks relatively rules light. This looks like this is aimed at more of a storytelling game as opposed to being real tactical and things like that. Glenwin RX says, Helmgast has a Swedish domain. Well, there you go. Thank you. Thank you for taking a peek. Earlier, it's I wonder how the violence attribute is used. Pete Strykowicz says, the question is, why is he a drug addict? Enter the darkness. Yes. So we are getting examples of moves here, it looks like. So as an example, we've got inner power. You harbor a mysterious power which you do not fully understand. The power can protect you, but you have no control over it. Whether you release your inner power, roll plus soul. So it's 2 10-sided dice plus your modifier for your soul. So 9 or less. Power attacks all living beings, including yourself in the vicinity, causing 2 harm. Hooray, nice going. 10-14, power attacks your closest opponent, causing 2 harm. 15 or higher, power attacks all opponents in your vicinity, causing 2 harm. So we can see we do not have hit points. Probably have wounds, and harm is going to subtract from your wounds. I would think maybe you've got 4, 5 tops. So looks like these are all different moves. Some of them are a little more detailed than others. Then we got relations, dramatic hooks, equipment. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these weapons. Yeah, so this is fairly abstract because we've got handguns, and then it lists all these different handguns, like the Beretta, the H&K USP, I should say, 45. So distance, arm, room, attacks, multiple targets. So it looks as if, I'm guessing in the parentheses, I don't know how well you can see this. So your attacks, so you've got combat shooting, it shows a 2 minus 1 ammo. So maybe that does the 2 harm. Overkill, which is 3 minus 2 ammo. Multiple targets, 2. Hit up to one additional target minus 3 ammo, and it shows 4 ammo. So the ammunition is also abstracted, which is fine. I don't have any issue with that at all. I don't expect a Morrow Project level of ballistics going on here. Yeah, I know. That's a blast from the past. Pete Strakulate says, so many games are built on a common system, D20 mostly. Got to give credit to games brave enough to bring a new system with it. So far, it doesn't look like this is necessarily a new system. This does look more powered by the apocalypse, Blades in the Dark. I guess it's Forged in the Dark is the kind of like third-party games that are built on that. Now, granted, it's not exactly the same, but it is similar. So yeah, I like to see that too. I like to see that too, because everything doesn't need to be a D20. Because there are some things that mechanically D20's maybe not that great at putting together. So, like, I'll give you a great example. If you were doing the same sort of thing where you're doing, failure and failure, but success, and 20-sided die tends to, especially when you're sitting there like, okay, so now I'm adding modifiers to that D20 roll and so on and so forth. Kevin R. Smith says, yeah, it's so much better when people tweak powered by the apocalypse instead of D20. Even when they tweak the D20, it still feels like it's D&D. Even if it could be, if it was modern, and I know there are a lot of like third-party products out there which use 5e for completely different sort of genres and settings like science fiction, modern, and so forth. It still just kind of feels like D&D because it seems like a lot of times when they're utilizing those 5e rule systems that it almost feels like they're trying to port things over. Oh, well, this is kind of the equivalent of spells. Shouldn't necessarily be that way. It's like, oh, this modern thing, it's the equivalent of spells. We're going to use those kind of rules. Not really. All right, so this looks like this is the part of the Game Master section, talking about the first session. Trying out the rules. We get some different areas here. Is this the underworld? Oh, no, influences. The higher powers of the Kult Divinity Lost universe are at war. Each faction in this war can be an influence in a game and can be mapped, representing the higher powers' willing and unwilling minions serving in that conflict, as well as the places, objects, and forces which contribute to furthering the higher powers' goals. I will tell you, this alarm buzzer is driving me insane. I will say I am intrigued. I am certainly intrigued checking this out, looking through it. We've got a section on downtime. When a player character dies. When a PC dies in the middle of a story, the Game Master might simply allow the player to create a new character. However, the GM may impose certain restrictions on the player, such as demanding the new PC's archetype and dark secret be in line with the story's theme, or the PC shares the dark secret with one or all of the other characters. If the death occurs early in the session, you can take a break until the new character is ready to go. GM will look it over and have the player present it the same way as when the story was initially set up. At that point, all there is left to do is establishing any relations and throwing the PC headfirst into the story. It's talking about stories and when to end it, how to end it. Constructing a scenario. Having a concept, having a theme, setting, backstory, archetypes. Dark secrets and disadvantages, detailing the characters, threats, milestones, places, and people, as well as endings. Yeah, I wonder what sort of advancement we've got here. So book 3, The Truth. I'm going to take a guess. This is the game master setting information. Looks like there's a woman about to commit suicide there. So yeah, that's a trigger warning for people. Looks like these are the different deities. Quite a few of them, and I guess each of them has a symbol. Samael, the Avenger, father of the Blood Angels. Oh, really? Oh, the Emperor's getting a mention here, huh? The Caliph of 1,000 Tears, the Wrath of Madness, God's Poison. Samael sweeps the scythe of vengeance across everything standing in his way. There are no injustices so petty or affronts so insignificant as to be tolerated. His essence seeks out those who nurse rage at being shunned or offended and encourages them to let loose. Jeez. Oh, you know, I should mention, we were talking about books last night. We were talking about literature. And someone had mentioned, maybe it was Chris Lundgren, had mentioned that, what was the series where it's the D&D players or, role-playing players meet a real wizard and they get transported into like a fantasy world? Isn't that I think it's called the Pyrain series? I think it's a series of 4 books. I think that might have been what he was talking about. Pete Rakowitz says, anyone check out the deck of many triggers? It looks insanely cool. The trailer is hysterical. I haven't even heard of it. Oh, one news piece that we might talk a little bit about tomorrow is Wizards of the Coast. I almost said fired, but I guess they were laid off. 90% of the team that was working on Sigil, and they are scrapping it. And I didn't even know about it. Elliot shot me a text and said, hey, did you hear this? So I assume you already know, and I called him. I said, no, I didn't hear anything. It's not like I, stumble across too much, Dungeons and Dragons news because I'm not looking for it. But that's kind of weird because about half of last Gen Con, when we went to the day before Gen Con kicked off, and they had this special press party for the new edition of D&D, where we got the players' handbooks. And we were there for, I think it was scheduled for like 4 hours. Ellie and I were able to get out of there after 3. Half of that was devoted to the Sigil system. So kind of weird. Lemon RX says that D&D virtual tabletop looked cool. It looked okay. I got to be honest, from what I saw, and remember, you probably saw a much more recent coverage of it than I did. I only saw it when they were kind of discussing it and showing us video and walking us through it. To me, it looked more like a video game. It really did not look to me like a virtual tabletop, which is fine. I mean, you can have 3D, but I guess they shut it down because people just disliked it intensely. And I guess a lot of people were concerned that they were really going to monetize the hell out of it, which I could certainly see. As I said to Elliot, it's like, oh, well, you want the dungeon wall? Well, that file is $5. Oh, you want the dungeon floor? That file is $5. Oh, you want the window? See where I'm getting? Yeah. So, yeah, I thought that was kind of weird. I thought that was kind of wild. I don't I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I know their CEO keeps talking about AI is the future, and D&D is going to be built with a lot of AI. So yeah, okay. It's like, I think I'll stick to my human game masters. All right, so we are looking at Beyond Passion. So it looks as if these are some of the maybe various different opponents. So we have Dream, then we have the Dream Princes. Is Morpheus here? Cults, the Stillwater Collective, Black Sails. We've got Creatures. That's pretty gross looking. Dream Beings. Stat blocks are relatively concise. So we have wounds and harm moves. That's kind of interesting. Now, we've talked about this stuff where I would like to see more bestiaries and things like that kind of give you an idea of how to use them tactically, or even just how to use them role-playing wise. And here it looks like we're doing that. So wounds and harm moves. We've got seams on her body burst open, exposing cotton soaked in blood. She backs away and tries to offer a deal. A body part is torn off, but the seamstress picks it up and starts to sew it back on again. That's pretty wild. And then she's got like combat abilities, different influences, magic. Yeah, so it does look like these are adversaries or even powerful NPCs, maybe even patrons, based on various different like emotions in that. So we had passion, of course, we had dream. So now we're going to get into locations. Well, I know we started off the book with what looked to be quite a bit of filler, but yeah, there's a good amount of content here. A lot of artwork, but it doesn't seem like we're getting so much artwork that the actual game material is getting, the short end of the stick. A world of 1,000 shards. Got another, some more kind of like bestiary entries. Okay, so here we've got Gaia, which I'm thinking is nature. Yep, in the wilderness's grasp. Pax and magic. Schools of magic. Madness, time and space, dream, death, passion. It's like those are the schools of magic. Doesn't look like, it looks as if you might actually create the spells working with the game master, because it doesn't look as if there's like a spell list. Honestly, I wouldn't think there would be. The Death Magician, the Disciple, the Revenant. Power brokers. Power brokers are powerful people, creatures, groups, or organizations who serve one of the setting's influences. They can operate as both allies and adversaries in stories involving enlightened archetypes. I would also take a guess that we were seeing the various different influences. This game probably, okay, maybe I shouldn't say probably. This game might not be designed for you to utilize all of them, because it seems like it would be pretty crowded. got limitations. These are enlightened archetypes. So these must be like the magic using types. Your Dresden files kind of, yeah, but cranked to like 12. Get the Awakened. There is a good amount of content that has been published for Kult Divinity Lost as well. I don't know how much there is out there for 4th edition. But I do believe there is some. So we've got our index, character sheet. Yep, we got a few character sheets here. Looks like we've got some player moves. And that will wrap up a look inside Kult Divinity Lost. And real quickly, we'll take a peek at the tarot cards. We won't look at every single one of them, but get an idea what we got here. I think I saw in the box it says there's 68. All right, come on. Oh yeah, this is great content. Watching Jeff trying, and it's like, oh, but Jeff, there's a tab down there you can just pull. Those usually do not work. They really don't. I gotta be honest, my hobby knife is losing a bit of its edge. Unless I stabbed myself in the finger with it, then it'd be plenty sharp. So, all right. So we're just going to take a peek here. So we had 0, 1, 2, 3. I don't know how you would use these. All right. So then we've got some characters here or some images here. Some of them have numbers, some of them do not. Huh. Kind of, hey, deep one. Hi, everybody. Then we got some cards with look like just standard numbers in different suits. So we got the skull, we got the rose. Yep. So got the sand in the hourglass. Lightning bolt through an eye. It's like some moons there, be my guess. And we got the Archons, the Death Angels. Guide to using the tarot deck at that link. Looks like, yep, you got to go to that link. And then these different symbols on it. Interesting. I do like the artwork on these, but what is that, 15, maybe, I'd say probably 18 cards with artwork. The rest are kind of like that. Don't know. So that is a peek at the tarot deck for Kult. Kind of cool. Kind of cool. Somebody had asked how much is the book. So the hardcover, which clocks in at 384 pages, is $69.99. Although I've seen it for a couple of other prices, like Modiphius Entertainment is like 71 and change. So if you order from Modiphius Entertainment, though, you will get the PDF because there's actually a little tag. It was shrink wrapped, little tag, and it's got the code for the PDF. So when I do my review of Kult Divinity Lost 4th edition, I will give away this PDF. Well, there you have it. So I'll have like some quick, easy contest. Daryl Eric asks, are the cards a separate cost? Yes. Got to be honest, I did not see the price of the cards. I think they're like $24.95, somewhere in that vicinity. So kind of cool, kind of interesting. Peter Rackwood says, glad to see what this is about. Their trailers are awesome. Yeah, they reached out because remember I talked about somebody had reached out and say, hey, did you want to review Kult? And I said, yeah, if you're interested in sending it. And then I never heard anything. And I mentioned it on the show. And then I got an email saying, hey, we heard that, because I guess they thought I wasn't interested. And then I just thought they forgot. So, but yes, I also have a copy of The Troubleshooters. Speaking of, also have Monty Python, that role-playing game, the co-curriculum. That's coming with all the other goodies with it. We've also got the latest issue of Carcass Crawler. I think it's issue 4 that's heading my way. And then there is another game. I'm trying to remember. This is all from Exalted Funeral. I'm trying to remember. It's a new release from them. I kind of think it might be a bit of a art punk sort of release. Then again, I could be absolutely wrong. But off the top of my head, I don't remember what it is. And of course, I'm sure everybody remembers that I have the Cthulhu by Gaslight Game Masters guide. Keeper, I think it's the Keeper's Guide, they're calling it. So it is under embargo until the 24th. So that is next Monday. So get ready. Next Monday, I will be sharing a review of that. I'm going to reach out. I'm going to see if I can give some PDFs away of that. Or maybe I should say a PDF of the player's handbook and the keeper's guide together to one lucky viewer. So we'll see if maybe we can pull that off. Yes. All right. On tomorrow's show, I am going to dive on in. We are going to take a look at the Eldari Inheritance of Embers for Warhammer 40K Wrath and Glory from my friends over at Cubicle 7 Games. So that's what's on the agenda for tomorrow's show. Yay. That's it for this time out. If you were watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chat, a bigger thank you, because not only are you keeping me company, you're keeping each other company as I'm sharing the news or flipping through a book. So it is much appreciated. Speaking of much appreciation, I also know a lot of folks out there, they don't get an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you for taking time out to watch any of the over 2,100 videos here on the channel. Everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. If you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. If you got a moment or two, please appease the YouTube algorithm gods and leave a comment on the video. That really does help put it in front of new eyeballs. It really does. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Because if you do subscribe, you also want to ring that bell, because when you do, it'll let you know when I share other videos, not only when the Dispatch streams live, also share other videos such as my upcoming review of the Pathfinder NPC core from Paizo Inc. Yeah, lots and lots going on. All right, everybody. I look forward to hopefully seeing you tomorrow. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks for watching. And as I like to close the show, I certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.